Yep. So, Craig, longtime friend here. Um, I'm having you on this week on my podcast, Movies and Minutes. So normally, what we do is I throw a couple of trailers at somebody, and we kind of like go back and forth based on the fact that you've seen these trailers but not the film, and I've seen the films. But we'll tell the people right off the bat today. You actually saw one of these movies today, right?
Yes.
So, maybe we'll save that one for last, and rather than it being something where I tell you, maybe we just go back and forth about this, and either we're gonna agree, we're gonna disagree, or I don't know, we'll find out, right?
I
So
like that dynamic.
yeah, well, and so yeah, so the way this usually goes is like we're watching, you guys watch some trailers, and we talk about it, and then it's kind of like a new different take on movie reviewing, in that we take the layman who hasn't seen the thing against the person who has, and we kind of either agree to disagree. Maybe we are both recommending this movie to the masses. Maybe we're both pooping on it and saying, don't go see it. It all kind of varies. But something I wanted to point out here, because we were actually supposed to record last week, and there were movies that we were going to see, or that I saw last week that we would have talked about. So ironically, all three movies that I sent you trailers for this week are all very what I like to call Craig. And it's not planned, because we were supposed to do last week, which would have been different movies. Like, this very much works out specifically for you being here. So it was like kismet.
Yeah. Listen, things always work themselves out and
Yeah. Yeah.
fall in the way they're supposed to. So if we did it last weekend, you might have pulled out 3 trailers that I would have just pooped all over and said to Bill, these are trash. I don't want to see these. Nobody else wants to see them. Whereas now you've given me a couple of trailers that, well,
Yep.
one of them I definitely went and watched. So you're right in my wheelhouse, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll get onto the other 2 when we get into them. So
Yeah. So let's start with Spinning Gold, because that was the one I sent you first. So what did you think that movie was about? Like, what did the trailer do for you?
So the trailer intrigued me because it's running back on history to the start when Motown was the top of the line. And Motown being the top of the line, you have this record label that is trying to break itself through. And in that process, they're showing how bankrupt and how far they're going to risk to get themselves on top of everything. And music, as you know, and anybody that's going to listen to this will find out now, is the one thing I feel the human race has done right. Every album is somebody's favorite album. Every song is somebody's favorite song. That being said, you go back and you have all these artists, all these beautiful vocalists, beautiful musicians that all came up through. And when you look at what a lot of the music that's dropping out now is, you have to fall to that Motown era where jazz was huge, where you had heavy metal trying to push through and was getting ridiculed by the masses. You had, so much that was just accumulating and trying to punch itself through, not to mention the racism, the segregation, and everything else that was sitting on top of it at that time. And you're showing a label that's going against a specific Black label and trying to take over what they own. They didn't succeed, but they did get big, and that's huge, because Casablanca was very big for a very long time. I do believe they are still out right now. They may have sold off to another company. I'm not sure.
So I actually, and it's great that you know so much about this just personally, because it's not that I'm not into music, but a lot of what this movie was about is kind of like the nitty gritty, the background stuff that like nobody ever notices. You see the big name on the stage doing the thing, and you're not really thinking about what happened for this to happen. And this is like kind of like, it's a biopic, but it's not really about it features a lot of different artists. I mean, like Donna Summer, the Kiss, Isley Brothers, you go on and on. There was a lot of big people featured, or at least they were like people played them. No, you didn't actually have like the real ones, but
yeah, they
the
replicated them
biopic
very
was about
well.
a guy named Neil Bogart, who changed his name like 10 different times, but he was basically like an album record guy, and he he was like behind all these people, but like you were 100% right. Like the company, like as the movie's like going, as you're watching it, they keep like kind of slowly updating like how much they're in debt. So like you'll cut to a different part of the movie and you see the numbers roll even higher, and it's like at one point they're like 7 million in debt, and he's like getting menaced by like everybody, like Gordy Howe.
I think that's who it was. Yeah,
Yeah, Gordy
I'm
Howe
not going to be
from
great with the
Motown.
names for
You
that.
got
But
you got the Italian mob in like Vegas. Like he's in debt to everybody, and the guy's just he's definitely the type of guy that you expect he is. He's like always like he's trying to like gamble on different things. He's not faithful to his woman. He's getting into hardcore drugs. And the
one of the
funniest thing about
things
it, did you ever? I know you watched some of them. Did you ever watch any of Supergirl?
I watched, I think most of season 1.
Yeah.
Not
So
all
like
of it, but a good portion of it.
enough to like have seen like her little sidekick dude win.
Yes.
Right? Win is the guy who plays Neil Bogart in this.
That's where I recognized it. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I mean they got a bunch of other famous people like Bruno Mars played one of the two Isley brothers. I'm just trying to think like who else they had, like because it was like a great bunch of people.
Well,
But
the thing with the cast, from what I was looking at with the cast, is the cast was not a stellar. So it's not a triple A list cast, but they were all like
you recognize them.
Yes, they were like leaders that have been support roles that are
Mhm.
jumping in to tell this story
Yeah,
in the way that the director and writer wanted it told.
they're definitely people too that like if I see them again in the future, I'll be like, oh, so and so played Gene Simmons in Spinning
Right.
Gold, like because a lot of these people had to like, obviously actors in movies are actors, but like they had to like really play character roles like
Right.
of existing people that we know.
Right.
So so based on what you saw in that trailer, and I mean like with some of like what I'm giving you here, like is it something that you think you'd like watch?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The second I saw the trailer and
Yeah.
realized it was music and that it was going across, and from what you're telling me here, based off of that, my assumption would be it's music. It's going to have a good story. Being a movie, it's going to be partial fact. You'll have hints of what was real, and then they're going to dramatize it for the movie.
Yeah.
But it is something that, like, I'm not going to go to the theater to see it. That is not a theater movie for me, but that will 100% be something I watch when it hits Netflix or drops on Blu-ray DVD, and I will have it watched.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to agree with you. Like, while the music is really good, there's nothing in this one, like, it's almost to a point where, like, for me to recommend something, like, it's really got to be, like, you see it, like, it's either, like, a 5-star movie and don't wait, or it's, like, something that's very visual that, like, won't look as good on a small screen. And that wasn't really the case with this. Like, if you got a good sound system, I'm sure the music will be done justice,
Right. And that's kind of how I see it. It's more of a DVD, Blu-ray, or a streaming service watch. I don't want to hurt anything on it because of the principle behind it, but I don't see this, especially with some of the things that are dropping. I don't see this as a, oh my goodness, let me get my ticket, let me get to the theater, I need to see this.
So this one I actually saw today. All the others I saw other days in the week, but I can tell you truthfully, there was only one other person in the theater. I think that I also don't want to hurt this movie either, because I try to go against the grain just myself as a whole. And I would give something like this like a 3.5 or 4.
Out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 5.
Okay.
Because the music was good, the story was there, but like other critics are hating it.
And they're going to hate it. And see, here's the thing I've learned, because if you look at the critics hated the first Iron Man. They rated the shit out of the first Iron Man. They did not like that. They didn't care for it. A lot of the MCU they said was redundant, but look at that. We've got over 10 years of movies that have pulled an entire world together to watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
So critics aren't always right. They're just people that
no, not by any means. And I never, I mean, like, and it's hard to get people to take me seriously by saying don't listen to the critics, but at the same time, like, I try to be more honest, like, with people. I think if you like any kind of music from like the 60s and up, I mean, this movie definitely focused like 60s to 80s, but like, it's great. You're gonna be like,
even if you're not familiar with music from the 60s or 70s, I feel it's a great educational purpose to look at where what you're listening to now comes from.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of stuff too that it was like you kind of just know the songs because you heard them at some point in life. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know so and so did this, or oh wow, I didn't know this was from that decade, like, as I was hearing these things. But they're like catchy things that people know.
Yep.
And I'm sort of shocked that the critics are like not loving it. Like a lot of the ones I read were like it was the guy's kid basically made the movie. Like he got together with a studio and pitched him his dad's like life story. And the funny thing about it is like he didn't it doesn't seem like he embellished, because like if his dad was cheating or if his dad was doing something stupid, it was in the movie.
But you got to take all that with a grain of salt. You've watched enough movies, you know that. So when you look at a movie, there's a portion of it that's real, and it may just be the names. And that may be what they're going on. And the rest of it is put up on this drama level to make sure that everybody is like, oh, yes, look at the drama in this. Did you see that? And you have to be smart enough to understand what's real in that and what's not. And if you go and you look up the individual, you'll see a lot of it. And I'm sure he cheated. And I'm sure he was that far in debt. Maybe not $7 million in debt, because if you look at the $7 million is a lot of money at that point in time. So I don't think they're going to be that far. They may have upped those numbers for modern time as to what they would be in debt right now.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
You know what I mean? But all in all, it's I will watch it when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray or on a streaming service. And that's about as far as I'll go with that one, because you don't want to insult people. If you like music, I would say go see this based off of what you said. You've already put a 3.5. I tend to like a lot of what you like. So that means I will probably enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And a 3.5 is a very good biopic rating.
Yeah. So again, like I'm gonna kind of shuffle the order on this a little bit, because I think I was gonna save Air for last, but I think because of the fact that you've seen D&D, we'll talk about that one last.
Okay.
So you said you've seen multiple trailers for Air.
Yes.
Why does that movie like evoke a lot of interest for you? Because I know you said that that's one that like you're very excited for.
So I grew up in a very heavy sports-filled kind of, I don't want to say house, but environment. I was playing basketball. I was playing football. We played baseball. We did all of this. I'm a Knicks fan. Hate to say it, but I'm a New York Knicks fan. That being said, Michael Jordan came up, took over, ran the NBA through most of my life. He completely changed the game. Working in places I've worked with, I've dealt with individuals that watch a lot of basketball, talk a lot of basketball, deal with a lot of players, everything like that.
Oh,
One of the key components, Michael Jordan changed the game.
Yeah.
And anybody that hates me for this, I apologize now. LeBron James did not. Michael Jordan is the better basketball player because he changed the game.
Yeah.
Secondly, the other reason why I'm really interested in this one is it is a movie where you're putting Matt and Ben together again. Ben Solo he's got a couple of winners. He's got a lot more flops than he does winners, unless he's in something that Kevin Smith did. It's kind of a flop out for him on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched too much of his Batman. I didn't care for his Batman where I did see it. But when he's with Matt, for some reason, he tends to rise above. And I don't know if it's just Matt coercing him, Matt leading him, or Matt pushing him because of where Matt is. And I love Matt Damon. I think Matt Damon is a fantastic actor. I have yet to really watch a flop with him. But just to watch what they're going to put behind this on the creation of the Air Jordans, which are right now monumental, and they're an icon in everyday society. Like, people are running and paying $500, $600, $700 for a pair of sneakers in their size off of eBay because they're Air Jordans.
Yeah.
So to see the basics of where that comes from and how it rolls, I'm hoping that Matt and Ben and I can't remember who else is in that, Jason Bateman, can all kind of roll that together and really get that story told in a way that it needs to be told.
Yeah. So I got a kind of a different background on this. Only, I mean, like, when I see things that I think are a good movie, like, I definitely gravitate towards them. And I mean, I don't have that, like, you know, I played soccer, and I'm like a soccer hockey guy. So basketball was never my thing, but I remember like, you know, I mean, I was growing up in the mid-90s, or, you know, early to mid-90s. And I remember Michael Jordan, you know, I remember Space Jam. I remember, like, you know, everybody, you know, I remember the jerseys and stuff. I mean, I was probably growing up when he'd already, like, because this movie is set in 84. So he'd already been on the scene for a hot minute. So I don't have the same connection that you do, or that some people do. But at the same time, this movie has a lot of things going for it. Again, I don't know if this is just a week of, like, biopics, but, like, it's another biopic, and it's almost, it's weird that these are, like, both coming out at the same time, even though they're not very related. But, like, it's a biopic again for not, like, the people up front. You know, it's not the Michael Jordan story, it's the guys behind him.
Right.
And like, this movie was another thing that, like, was very informative to people that aren't, like, in the know. I did not know that Nike in the mid 80s was the number 3 sneaker. Adidas was at the top of the game. Then we had Converse, and then Nike. And I just, like, at the very start of the movie, they give you those figures, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's other things too. Like, you know, eventually, like, they give you other stuff too. Like, Matt Damon's role in this movie is, like, he's almost like a scout. Like, he's like a scout for, like, high school basketball, but, like, he's, like, getting out there, putting, like, shoes out there, and, like, kind of trying to get the Nike basketball brand growing, which isn't really happening yet. Like, everybody's, like, talking in this movie about, like, everybody's, like, wearing Adidas's because they also were making tracksuits at the time.
Yes.
So it's like, if you're wearing the tracksuit, you're wearing an Adidas shoe. Why the heck would you wear a Nike or a Converse for that matter?
There was no matching for it. You had the Converse, which had the match, which is why they were, but Adidas was top of the line with their stripes, and you had the Adidas tracksuit. So from the Italians wearing the tracksuits and everything that they had their Adidas rolling, their dress loafers, and then you had just the culture itself adapting to that. So that's part of the intrigue to this whole Air movie. It's like, all right, what did they do to put themselves above everybody else that was on top? And I mean, you look now, you have Nike tracksuits, you have Nike Air Jordans, you have Nike Jordans, you have Nike Air Lights. Like, they're just owning it.
And I try on here, you know, I mean, I do have to give some spoilers to, you know, entice people, but at the same time, like, something like this, I don't want to spoil everything, because, you know, that there's things to be learned, even though it's a biopic. So ultimately, this information, you know, happened, you know, people lived through it, that sort of thing. But what I'll say is, the way they portray the Jordans, and I've been telling people this all week, because this is one fact I did know about this movie. So Michael Jordan had one condition for this movie, and he would not agree to the rights to himself until they met it. And it was that Viola Davis had to play his mother.
Really?
Really. That was his only like major, like, you got to do this or no. And I gotta say, she played a great. I mean, I don't know what Mrs. Jordan was like, but she played a great mom, a great like caring person. Like, she wasn't stupid. Like, she was watching out for her son while also letting her son grow. And
If you
it's evidenced by like the 3 deals that are kind of presented to Michael before he signed, because they said he was like the number 3 draft pick in '84, like at about the time this was going on. So like they were all courting him. And it was, I mean, like, they tell you, ultimately like what they offer him. And the one spoiler I'll give is part of it was the Air Jordans.
Yep.
Because none of the other shoes, I mean, like, Converse and Adidas just offered him cool shoes, but it wasn't his shoe. And the others kind of were like, we're not trying to promote you, in our shoe. We want to promote you, and like, we'll build the shoe around you.
Yeah.
And there's still more to that. There's like, you get some revelations about like something else that they agreed to, which was apparently super groundbreaking for the time. But this movie's got a lot of heart. There's a lot of like, it's not like the last movie we're going to talk about where there's like lots of big things to see. Like, it's all character. It's like these people, like seeing these people like act out these parts just won me. Like, this movie I gave a 5 out of 5.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes me feel good, because
yeah,
I've watched a lot with Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
My younger brother was a huge Jordan fan. He was actually a Chicago Bulls fan, and he has a Jordan rookie card from the year that he came up in. He's got one of the big ones.
Nice.
But just knowing everything behind it, and a little bit on Jordan's mom. If you just do some like back search on Jordan when he was coming up, you'll see things of his mom, and that's how his mom was. His mom was just sweet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, because it puts it out, but like a sweet Baptist church kind of lady that really cared for her family, took care of them, but was not like, no, you can't go outside. There's this out there. She was, I want you to follow your dreams. I want you to do this. You do what's there. I'm here to pick you up if you fall, but we need you to go this way and be protected.
Yeah.
So
and I definitely like got that vibe. They showed over the credits at the end, like they're showing some like stuff that's like actual like footage of like him accepting an award somewhere, like real Michael Jordan, and like he thanks his mom and he gets up. But like the only thing about that was we didn't really get to hear her talk. It was more him thanking her for all these things. Like, my mom taught me this, taught me that. Like, so, but I mean, obviously if he's thanking her for those things, she must have been like that for him to learn.
He was a mama's boy. He was a big mama's boy.
Listen, he's a super success. So, it must have worked.
It did.
So
you can't deny the greatness.
No. And so this one's kind of weird too. So this movie isn't actually out yet. Comes out next Friday. Regal had a 1 week early showing, and at first I was kind of curious why the Saturday before a movie comes out. And the only thing I can think is Mario's coming this week, and I have a feeling that no matter how good this film is, it's gonna suffer to trying to share the same like existence time as Mario.
Well, you've also got the next movie that we're going to talk about, and I think there's one other big one that's dropping out within this time span too that's going to probably go against it. So get that early release showing, and then you get people to watch it, and if you sell out, you have your numbers, so you know where to push it and how to push it, what markets it's going to do.
Well, big. I think that's part of it. The other cool thing about this one is it was an Amazon Studios movie, which is I think, I mean, sometimes Amazon will just drop stuff on their thing and then won't really think anything about it. But I think they actually probably want this one to be an award contender, which straight streaming aren't eligible for. They got to have some sort of theater presence. So that might be, I wouldn't be shocked if even within a month, this is on Amazon Prime streaming. Given,
that would make sense if it's an Amazon thing, but putting it
so
up for award,
yeah,
that's probably the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon put into test. I mean, those two play great off of each other. It's phenomenal to watch the two of them together in whatever they do. So
if anybody's winning it, it'll be Matt. Nothing against Ben. He's definitely like supporting in this. Matt's the lead for sure. Although I think Ben is the director also on this. So if anything, he could win director because the movie's very well directed.
Well, he's done a couple of them. There's a lot of things that Ben has directed that people don't even realize he's directed. I mean, you would know because you see movies like I do and you watch movies like I do, so you pay attention to those little critiques.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little underlying things that people don't realize Ben has directed. He has written. He has been a part of. He's produced. Like there's a lot of that in the back scenes that people don't realize.
This is definitely like high caliber for him in his portfolio. If nothing else, even if it doesn't win, like going forward, if I see his name attached to like writing or directing roles, I'll be like, well, at least I know you got the chops for like there's potential for whatever he does going forward to be good. What else was I going to say on this?
Saw that. See, the problem with Ben, here's the problem that I have with Ben. Because when you look at Good Will Hunting, him and Matt wrote that, directed it, produced it, brought up the money for it and everything. And that story is beautiful. That is one of my favorite movies to date. They somehow got Robin Williams in there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love that.
And he was fantastic in that. And with that movie alone, you see their chops. Matt went on to grab other roles and get himself further into acting. And he wrote and did a lot there.
Yeah.
Ben went into Hollywood actresses. He went after that, and I think he hurt his career with a lot of the bad publicity from J-Lo, and then he did Jersey Girl and all that other stuff, and it just kind of like people had a bad taste from him, and he couldn't recover. So something like this would be good because he is a good guy.
Yeah, I see your point too, because there's definitely things that I've watched him and I kind of like held a lens to him based on other things. You try not to, but it's like you might see like a certain type of acting that he does, and you're like, oh, this is just like whatever. So
yes.
You know who else? Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. So you talked about Bateman. Bateman was great. Bateman's very good at like shifting to whatever he needs, but he's the funny straight man. Like he plays serious very well, but can be funny.
But that's what he's been playing. If you look back after he got blacklisted from his alcoholism and everything like that, he got the chance to be the announcer in Dodgeball. And that was his come up. He did that, and his role in that, even as small as it was phenomenal. And then he did a couple of other pieces going through, like small little parts, and they did fantastic. And like he's got some comedies that, I'd give it 2 out of 5, but they were entertaining. They're a fun watch. I'm not going to buy the DVD. I'm not going to run to the movie to see it, but they were fun to watch.
You know which one on rewatch not long ago actually holds up better than when I first watched it? Game Night.
I was just going to mention that one. Like that movie.
That's one of his really better ones.
On watching it again. But then he also shows that he's got the chops for seriousness when you look at the Ozarks.
Right.
He was fantastic in that. So
what was I going to say? So there's one other person that was in this movie who I've not seen do anything in a hot minute. Is Chris Tucker.
Yes.
So Chris Tucker's in this, and Chris Tucker hasn't been in shit for as long as I can think of. Like it's been a while.
He got blacklisted in Hollywood after what was it? So he did the Fridays, and then he did the Jackie Chan ones, and something happened. I want to say he got too big for his britches and demanded too much money, is what happened with him.
Yeah.
So he kind of got shunned from Hollywood, and couldn't get the parts because he wanted too much money. And he had people like Ice Cube and things like that drop him into, barbershop or whatever there for little bit parts to show him. And he did a couple of stand-up comedies to keep the funds rolling.
But he's just been like nowhere.
Right.
And it's so weird because like I say this and I'll get canceled for this probably. He's always been like that guy that you're like, please don't like make stereotypical actors, and then he'll stand there and like basically like shuck and jive. Like he's like he leans into it. And
but he's a character actor, so you have to compare
that's
him
just like
to like
his
a
thing.
Jared Leto.
Me and my cousin grew up and we watched the movie Money Talks probably 100 times.
Yeah,
because he's just and like he just he purposely plays that like way over the top, like excitable like guy.
Look at Fifth Element. Look at what he played in Fifth
Yeah,
Element.
yeah,
There's another
that's
one where
just him. Like,
yeah,
but like at the same time, he's like typecast as that. Like everything he does that. And I haven't seen it in a hot minute. And in this, it was subdued. I was like shocked. Like, all right, so you learn to like channel it when you need to. So like he would talk to like Bateman and Matt Damon and just be like, normal conversation, like crack a joke here or there. And then he gets in the room with the Jordan parents and he's like turning on the like, he's like, hey man, like, yo man, like what's going on? Like all that stuff, like out of nowhere, like trying to make him feel some kind of way. And then Michael Jordan's father's like, he's like, well, of course, you're the only brother in the room. And I'm just like, oh my God.
But on that same note,
yeah,
so that people understand the context, is that movie's in the early 80s. That was still a big cultural impact in the early 80s at that time. So that's how everything would have been. It's changed a lot since then. And now, between cancel culture and everything else. But
that could be why they even got him too, because he's just good at that. But
yeah,
either way, when you get the chance, I recommend that one. I again, a lot like Spinning Gold. There's nothing really about it that says go see this on the big screen. The only thing I'll say is it just was a really good movie. So like, God forbid you and the missus are ever bored and it hasn't hit streaming yet, like I'd recommend it. But other than that, it's probably not going to kill you if you wait either. So
we'll probably wait for that. Movies like that tend to not bring us into the theater. It's usually the sci-fi, the fantasy, the big AAA titles that bring us in to
sci-fi fantasy. You say like D&D?
Yes, like D&D.
So D&D, D&D released this week. I kind of snuck in and got to see that one Thursday.
It's already made $40 million this weekend.
What's that?
It as of this morning, going into today, it's already made $40 million just on Friday.
That's cool.
Saturday.
I haven't looked at the budget for it, but I wouldn't be shocked if the budget was somewhere between 100 and 200.
It's probably closer to the 200.
Yeah, so they're gonna have an uphill battle with Mario next week.
Different crowds, though, when you honestly think about it. I think Mario is going to bring in a lot of nostalgic Nintendo and a lot of kids.
You say that, but like the crowd that I saw at it, and then the crowd I saw today, like going to it, was a lot of like dads bringing their kids because I think they want to get them into it because it's PG-13, so it's not like there was nothing really like overt that like kids couldn't watch it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, so you saw it too, though. Like, what did you think of this movie?
So, all in all, the movie is very enjoyable. It is, in my opinion, a must-see on the big screen. I feel a lot of what goes on in the movie, you need that big screen for. I would definitely say get one of the theaters that has the better sound system, not the low sound system, because there's a lot of little things that go on in the movie that are really nice to hear happening on the left or the right or behind you or whatever's going on, especially some of the fight scenes. I think there was one swear word in the whole movie. I think it got the PG-13 rating because of the context and the violence that rolls through it.
I think it's considered fantasy violence, blood. I don't even think there was any like, even all the romance stuff was all pretty tame relative to.
Yeah, that's
D&D
not what
campaigns.
They're worried about. But
what did you like about it?
What did I like about it? I liked the realism. With this, I read a lot. I paid attention to a lot of it. because I do, as you know, play D&D. We have campaigns going. We just started a new one. We're on session 4 coming up here. We had a 2-year campaign running prior. I played as a kid. I used to draw my own maps. I used to DM, do all of that. So reading on the background of this, noting that each one of the characters in this movie had a physical character sheet that they had to abide by with charisma, intelligence, strength, whatever else that may be there. And they had to decide their feats, and their feats were shown. And for instance, there's the one scene with Michelle Rodriguez in one of the fights she's in, and you're looking at that, and that whole time I'm like, oh my God, she's got this feat. Yep, that's that feat. Oh, that's that feat. So if you know anything about D&D, you'll pick up these little tiny pieces that are in there. But if you don't play D&D, it's a feel-good movie. It is just a feel-good movie. Like
I was gonna say, because I mean, like my take on it was it definitely they went for the wide appeal on it. Like if you're a D&D person, you'll pick up on the things, and if you're not, it's just a fantasy adventure film. Like you can't go wrong on either.
And that's
end.
how I feel about it. Like this is like a 4 out of 5. 4.5, 4 out of 5 for me. And that being is there was a few of the animatronics that I looked at and I could clearly tell that they were either animatronics or poorly CGI.
Yeah, I'm gonna 100% agree with you. I think I gave this to 4. The one CGI that really stuck out bad for me was there was that dragon statue thing at the end that they're fighting when they're fighting the Red Wizard there. I'm just like, man, like you guys have the power to make these things look great, and it's almost like they intentionally made it look like shitty CGI. Like, hey, if you'd watched a D&D movie 20 years ago, this is what this should look like.
See, that one didn't bother me because that one I just kind of threw off as it's a stone golem. It's this, they're pulling it out. The one that got me was the fish with the baby cat.
The fish with the baby. Oh, yeah.
That was just, I looked at that and went, okay, so there's your flaw.
Yes. Anthropomorphic people.
Yes. That was one of the worst spots that I saw for the CGI animatronic type stuff. Other than that, everything was solid. It started, it ended, I went, oh crap, it's over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, stay through the credits because there is a little clip in the credits. So if you go see it, make sure you stay. It's only like a 10-second scene there.
It's just a little thing.
But it's a definite must-see on the big screen. It's very entertaining. If you're a D&D fan, you'll pick up on everything and you'll enjoy it. If you're not, like you said, it's just a feel-good, warm heart, full belly kind of movie.
So, did you have a favorite character on, like any of the main people that we saw pretty regularly through the film?
That's a tough question.
I know exactly who my favorite was.
I don't believe they really pushed Chris Pine's character to the levels that he needed to be to. So the way he played it was very good, but I don't think as the character he was there. He felt more of a support in some of the scenes than he did the lead. I love Michelle Rodriguez's character. I adored, and I can't think of her name, the tiefling.
I know who you're talking about.
She was the druid. I loved her character. Like everything about her, I just loved. And from the get-go, she comes out and she's like, yeah, I don't like humans. And I was like, oh my God, I love you. Can I marry you right now?
Whoa. We get it. She's a redhead. Come on. We all have the weakness, but
no, she was just a very, very well played, well acted, well put together character, and I enjoyed it.
Right. So you know who my favorite character was, and I don't always go for the bad guys here, but Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant as the Lord of Neverwinter, as just like the total the fuck you character. But his
last 3 roles have been that character. His last 3 roles have been that.
I'm here for it, especially like the narration stuff, like the very end where he's in the exact same spot as them in the jail, and he's like it's now him narrating the story, and then trying to jump on James the Bird guy. I'm like, nope, but hilarious.
Yes, very good.
I think they also kind of, I mean, because this isn't the first time they've done a D&D movie, right? This is like the
This
third
is
or the fourth,
iteration. It's the third iteration, and the first two were really bad. I think the first one had the Wayans brothers, and it was not it for the time frame. It was an okay movie, but it did not have. It was kind of like, I guess you would compare it to the Mortal Kombat. It's like, oh, we have this license, we're going to take and slap this name on it, and we'll try to make it fantasy. Oh, look, a dragon. Oh, look, a sword. Oh, you fought, you lost. Fire. Here you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what those were. This is not that. They did their research. I do believe Roll20 actually had, or Dungeons and Dragons actually had hearsay in what happens in the movie. Like, I think they overlooked or watched in it, which is why some of the factors and the pieces of it feel so campaigny and RPG, is because they were actually putting input in. Like I said, all the characters had a character sheet that they had to abide by. That was rolled through and put on. They rolled it. And I found out today from the group that we went with that they actually sat down and did like a 3 or 4 week campaign where they played to understand what was going on in a D&D world.
Nice.
So,
I mean, that's really cool. I think truthfully too, that depending on how well this does, they probably set these guys up for like more. I mean, like, it ended in such a way that there could be more if they want there to be.
If this breaks its budget, and we'll say they made it cost them $200 million. We'll just stick there, which neither one of us knows what it cost. We can look it up if we want to, but we'll say it cost $200 million. If this movie breaks $230 million, there's a sequel. I guarantee it.
I'm good with
they
that.
Had fun. Michelle Rodriguez, like the little snippet at the beginning was perfect. That you're the hero for coming here, et cetera, like the best popcorn for whatever reason. Like that that solidified it. Like, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. You know what probably would have solidified it for you even more, which unfortunately our area is not cool enough to have one, but so AMC did a D20 shaped popcorn bucket. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt too. And the thing is, I'm at a stage in my life where if I'm at the theater and they have that thing, I'll get it. But like, I'm not paying the $50 eBay price to get an empty popcorn bucket, like, just because it was a cool thing.
My wife just said, yeah, I didn't tell you because we couldn't get it. So now I'm like, I'm heartbroken inside knowing this.
Karen knew before you?
Yes, and she didn't tell me.
Oof.
My wife is my soulmate. She's my clone. She is my everything. And because of all of that, she is legitimately, because she enjoys it, and like, she'll sit here and listen to me when we're campaigning, because we do a lot of it virtually, and if we're at my table doing it, she'll like peek over and see what's going on. But she belongs to a D&D group on Facebook, and she follows all this stuff and goes through all it, and I'm just like, that just, it's all warm fuzzy knowing that my wife does that because she enjoys that stuff.
Listen, I've got to break it for the viewers though. Like, you guys are not clones. She does not have salt, pepper, beard. Like, let's just set the record straight here.
Not that you know of you.
I know. Yeah. It's everybody else that's got to take my word for it.
No, she is not my clone. She is a wonderful woman. And she has made me a very happy man. I'll just leave it at that. And the fact that the second I said, do you want to go see the D&D movie? And without even finishing that sentence, she was like, fuck yeah.
What time? Yep.
That's just perfect. That's what you look for. And that's what you need. You just got to have that individual that enjoys your quirkiness, your corkiness, your idiocy, and your little tidbits like Dungeons and Dragons to enjoy together. So.
And the movies, which you guys enjoyed together too.
Yes.
Well, I will be sure to have you back on because you were a great guest. You're very knowledgeable. You don't, clam up in front of a camera. And I get 2 guests for the price of 1 because I get Karen in the background on proxy. So, yep.
I would love to be on again, Nabil. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I always love hearing other people's interpretations and what's the word I'm looking for? Criticisms on movies. I enjoy movies.
Yeah. We lucked out. This week was all a pretty great slate of films. Nothing was bad. Maybe next time we'll have doo-doo movies, but I'm also not I'm not upset that we don't have bad movies, because I don't feel good when I've got to be like, yeah, this was terrible. Don't watch it. It's happened a couple of times, but yeah, I still have to be like, I know you guys love horror over there, but try to stay away from that Winnie the Pooh movie. It was bad. So, but all right. Thank you guys for being on, and I will we'll have to get together soon too. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right. Take
care. And everybody
guys.
out there listening, be nice.
Yeah. All right. It's been Movies and Minutes. Take care, guys.